And here we are on Network Interference. My name is Shane, and I'm joined by my adorable daughter,
Marlowe.
I was going to say that.
Okay.
I forgot your name for a second.
Okay, gotcha. That's what that was.
Marlowe, I am excited about this show today.
I am too.
Are you? Because
Yeah.
we watched a couple of movies last night, or actually 2.5 movies.
Yes. 2.5. One was 4 minutes long.
Oh, so we watched the whole movie. It was just short. All right.
Yes,
So it's still
yes.
3 movies.
Yeah, still 3 movies.
One of them was 4 minutes long.
Yes, I really liked them. And I was going to say they were all inspired by children's entertainment.
One of them was the Banana Splits movie.
Yes.
That came out, I think, just recently, within the past
2019.
2019. And the other was
Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland.
And that came out in 2021.
This is like a new subgenre that has surfaced in recent years, apparently, based on children's entertainment, like you said, kind of like Chuck E. Cheese, family pizza parlors where you can go and play games and eat pizza and enjoy an animatronic performance.
It's usually a rock band or some type of band.
Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese and his band. So that was kind of like Willy's Wonderland that Nicolas Cage was in.
Yes.
And then the other one was the Banana Splits. Now, that's an old show that I used to watch in syndication in the 70s, even though that show, I believe, came out in, 1968?
Yes, exactly.
But they made a horror film, a modern horror film, based on those characters from that, I guess it was a Saturday morning Hanna-Barbera produced show.
Yeah, I never watched it, but I watched the horror film and that was good.
Well,
I learned a lot.
It was exactly the
It's
same.
exactly like
Lots
like
of
the
blood
real
and
one,
guts, right? Just like all the blood and gore that they had when I was a kid. What about the short one?
The short one was called The Hug, and it was made in 2018, and it was about an animatronic panda at a pizza place as well.
So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll take a shallow dive into horror films based on pizza places and children's programming. So stick around. Marlowe, we are talking about horror films that we watched actually just last night.
Yes. So the first one, let's just go ahead and talk about The Hug.
The Hug. That's that 4-minute one on Hulu. That was part of what? Huluween?
Yes. It's like horror short film.
Up and coming directors and writers.
Yeah.
But
Did you like it?
I liked it. I thought it was really cool. It was funny. I laughed. Do we have to do some spoiler alerts here? We got to do a spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. We need some music for the spoiler alert. Okay, here we go. How about this? So for the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about all 3 of these movies and in particular how they end. So just so you know.
You're warned.
You're warned. All right. Now we can
Anyways, back to the show.
Tell me about The Hug.
Okay, so it was a little kid's birthday party, and he wanted to see the animatronic show at his birthday. But then when he went over to the panda, the worker was like, no, you can't come in here.
He's taking a break.
Yeah, he's taking a break. He said, even the panda needs to eat or something like that.
Right. So then the kid was
sure
like, it's my
did.
birthday.
Then-
and I want to see the panda show right now.
And the worker didn't care at all. And then the next thing you know, kids being kids.
He went to the control panel.
Yeah,
and
he went
turned
to
on.
the control panel, turned on the panda, and then the panda was like, hey, give me a hug. Yeah.
I wish all movies were 4 minutes long, to be honest with you.
I like the set design of it. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, it looked like Chuck E. Cheese.
But like an 80s version of like a cool, it reminded me of something that would be in the arcade in like Stranger Things.
Uh-huh.
Stranger Things had like a cool looking arcade, and that's what I imagined it as.
That was The Hug, and it's on Hulu.
Yes.
And it's very short, and it's definitely worth a 4-minute watch. All right, well, let's move on to Willy's Wonderland.
Well, Willy's Wonderland started out with Nicolas Cage. He was in it, which he's been in a lot of movies recently.
He sure has. He's in every other movie made.
They're all horror
today.
movies, too. I think that he learned how to fight.
He was a good fighter in this one.
He
for
was
sure.
a really good fighter. He was the only one who fought any of them in this film. Also, he does not say one word throughout the entire movie.
He does not say one word. I thought that at the very end, he was going to say something like, yeah, those animatronics suck, or something at the end.
He didn't explain himself at all. No one knows why he was such a skilled fighter.
Why he drank sodas all through the movie and crushed the cans with his hand. And I thought for sure by the end of the movie, they were going to explain why he had to keep drinking so many sodas. Maybe he was a better fighter with the sodas. I thought at the end it was going to tell us what it was, but spoiler alert, it didn't.
It was a good movie, though.
And he didn't talk.
Yeah,
at all.
He didn't talk at all. He made a lot of facial expressions that were all very similar.
But no one knew how to fight better than good old Nick Cage.
Yeah, there was a line that was like, he's not stuck in there with them. They're stuck in here with him.
I like that line.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
That was probably the best line in the whole movie.
They needed to eat. The animatronics needed to eat.
Right. They kept saying they need to eat. They need to eat. I saw them biting people. I don't know if I saw them consuming people.
Sucking their energy
like
out?
The Hug. He ate that kid in The Hug.
Yeah.
It wasn't a perfect film, but it also wasn't a very long film. It was just 90 minutes long. Nicolas Cage did a good job. I like the fact that he didn't speak. He was a unique character in a horror film.
It was fun for a little bit, and then they got to the part where it's like a band of serial killers performed a satanic ritual and then went into the objects of the animatronics, and now
they gave it a backstory where they explained the mythology behind these animatronics coming to life. But let me just say something as a viewer. If I can live with the hero of the film not saying a single line of dialogue and playing pinball and dancing and acting weird, I really don't need to know a whole lot about those animatronics. Just let them fight Nicolas Cage. I don't really have to have a supernatural explanation for them. Personally, I didn't need it. I would have been fine if they were just animatronics out killing people. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. The Banana Splits movie, which we talk about later, they have a different explanation for why the animatronics kind of go rogue. And so it has a more techie explanation to it than this being supernatural.
I don't feel that an explanation was needed for either one of those films, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit more surreal not knowing why the animatronics have turned evil. And movies always feel like they have to offer an explanation. And you know what? Most of the time, that explanation is the most boring part of the whole movie.
And makes the movie that was actually a good horror movie kind of cheesy.
Tra la 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 la, tra la 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 la.
So you grew up watching the Banana Splits.
I sure did. The Banana Splits were 4 animal-type characters that were in a band that were designed by Sid and Marty Krofft, actually, before H&R Puffin stuff. This was one, if not their first show, the Banana Splits. They designed the outfits.
Oh, cool.
And Hanna-Barbera, who produced Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, they produced the show. And this is one of their early hits as well. And the Banana Splits would introduce animated segments and some live action segments. I think one was Danger Island and another one was The Three Musketeers. And the Banana Splits would do little comedy skits in between the shows. I watched it when it was in syndication in the 70s. And that song is really infectious. And if you watch the horror movie, you will be singing that song at least 24 hours later because I'm still going tra-la-la, tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la, la-la-la-la. Now, when we first started watching it, I remember commenting, they don't look like they're wearing clothes from the early 70s or the late 60s. Then in the first minute or so of the movie, the mom picks up a cell phone And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I thought this was going to be set in the late 60s because it's the Banana Splits. But no, it's set in modern times.
Yep.
So that means that in this world, the show that actually only lasted 2 seasons is just now after 50 years being canceled. That was something I had a hard time getting around. That's one thing. And the other thing is they are animatronics in this version of the movie, but they were never animatronics. They were all... Yes, really. They were always just people in costumes. Sid and Marty Krofft were not robotic scientists.
Interesting.
But they were very creative with a sewing machine. So they created costumes, and that's what the original Banana Splits were wearing. But in this version, they have been, for the past 50 years, robots.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I had no idea that the Banana Splits were originally puppets.
Okay, so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would have stuck to the original Banana Splits history, but they bought the rights to the Banana Splits and just put them in another horror film. That's where it probably went wrong for me. Also, in that movie, the Banana Splits horror film, they had to deal with a problem that most modern horror films have, and that's cell phones. Cell phones almost ruined the horror genre because if you go back before cell phones came around and looked at any horror film and say, gosh, if they had only had a cell phone, this movie would be 4 minutes long, like The Hug, right? Because they could just call the police or something. But they dealt with it in this movie by having the audience that's going to see the Banana Splits, they have to turn in their cell phones because you're not allowed to bring cell phones into the studio.
Yep.
So people are putting their cell phones in these bags and giving them to strangers that work at this really strange production studio.
It's like really grimy and dark and has strings hanging from the wall.
It's the creepiest production studio I could imagine. And, it looked pretty cool, but they had to get rid of the cell phones so that they could, prevent them from calling for help when they're stuck in the studio with these animatronic monsters. However, if they would have just set the show in 1970 when the Banana Splits were actually canceled, then they wouldn't have had cell phones to deal with, and that would have been so much easier and better. Also, why did they have to be animatronics? I would have been fine if they were just weirdos in suits. In fact, it probably would have been more scarier because I can believe that.
Yeah.
Right? I can believe that, hey, I'm going to a children's show and you got these 4 people up there covered head to toe in giant furry suits. I have no idea what kind of creepazoid is inhabiting that suit. So that's actually scarier to me because I can believe it. I can believe that there are weirdos in those suits, right? You don't know who's in the suit.
You don't
know? Yeah, that's scary. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, the Banana Splits that I grew up with was actually just weirdos in suits killing people.
But
and then you
instead,
don't have to explain this mechanical engineering thing that I just don't buy. I don't buy it. But the bad programming turned them evil and now they go around murdering people. I don't believe that.
And
weirdos in a suit? Yes, I believe it. So that's how I feel. And for that matter, the supernatural aspect of Willy's Wonderland was a little bit highfalutin for me. I would have been fine if they were not animatronics either and just weirdos in suits. I thought that the Banana Splits, they looked exactly like the original Banana Splits. They did a good job doing that. All 3 of the movies that we're talking about today did not take themselves too seriously, and I like that about them. They were funny and clever, so I was able to forgive some of the plot holes and things that didn't really make much sense because they weren't very serious movies to begin with. However, the violence and gore was serious. It was,
and the fight scenes, like all the fight scenes, especially like in Willy's Wonderland, they were very serious fight scenes.
Well choreographed, very violent. The horror was right on the money. It was they went for shock and terror and screams, but it was also really funny.
They're fighting a bunch of animatronics that have like huge robot eyes and are different animals. It's kind of silly.
I think seeing Nick Cage fist fight a giant cartoon-looking weasel was a sillier image than anything in the Banana Splits to me. Maybe because I knew he was being paid a whole lot of money to pretend like he's fighting a giant ferret. You know, it was really silly. Marlowe, you've watched a documentary about animatronics.
I found a documentary kind of about the start of the animatronic bands that were at pizza places. So I grew up with Chuck E. Cheese. We went to Chuck E. Cheese a whole bunch. But before that, it was Showbiz Pizza Place.
Showbiz Pizza Place. I remember that.
The documentary was just the Rock-afire Explosion documentary. That's what it was called.
Right.
So the Rock-afire Explosion was just an animatronic character band that performed at Showbiz Pizza Place. It was a big thing. And then it turned into what we know today as Chuck E. Cheese.
They got rid of the lead singer and replaced him with the mouse?
No, they actually got rid of all of the characters.
Oh.
So there was this whole thing. The documentary was actually kind of sad. They were running out of money because they had made Showbiz Pizza Places in so many areas. And so then they said that the guy had to give all of his rights to the characters. And so he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so all of the animatronics, they just ripped off the suits of all of them and then replaced them to what we know as the Chuck E. Cheese band.
Oh, so they took a band, a robot band.
Yes.
Ripped off their skin.
And then put new skins on them.
Put new skin on them.
And so I'm pretty sure they just used the same shows or very similar shows. It was more about just the love of the Rock-afire Explosion and how it was a band and a kids' entertainment that a lot of people really adored and loved.
So what is it called? The Rock-afire Explosion?
Yeah, did you ever hear of them?
I remember when Showbiz Pizza came, and it only lasted about maybe 2 years in our hometown, and then it was replaced by Chuck E. Cheese.
Was a lot of it the same?
Yeah, it's just a mouse instead of whatever. Who was the lead singer of the Rock-afire Explosion?
I'm pretty sure it was the gorilla.
I think it was the gorilla. I think it was a gorilla. But didn't Chuck E. Cheese have a gorilla? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't remember them.
There's a lot of animals. But we just know that they're animals.
It's fun seeing those bands. Doesn't Disney have the Country Bears?
And they were animatronic as well.
Yeah.
Notice that a lot of these animatronics that we've watched, a lot of them have Southern accents.
Oh, yeah, the Banana Splits. It was like, hey, everybody, welcome to the Banana Split Show.
And in Willy's Wonderland, they had a few accents as well. Yeah, the creator of the Rock-afire Explosion, they also had a couple of Southern accents. So I don't know why. I don't know why they have Southern accents.
Because they're funny.
I guess
the Banana Splits, don't they all have Southern accents?
The lion has a strong Southern accent.
Hey, everybody, it's the Banana Split Show, and it's time to play the Wheel of Endings. Pretty good ending.
That was a pretty good impression.
And the show must go on. I don't know. That was a very interesting conversation about these horror films. I enjoyed watching them with you. We should watch more horror films about children's shows and animatronics and pizza places.
If there are any.
Well, if there are, I'd like to find them.
If there are, we'll find them.
If there are, I'm sure we'll find them and see them because that's my new favorite thing. My new favorite thing.
Really?
I love them.
Wow.
A lot of people are into the Marvel movies. Some people are into mysteries. A lot of people are into true crime is very popular right now. Me, I love movies about animatronics. That's my new thing. That's animatronics and songs, singing robots, killing people. That's a movie for me. I'm all for it. I'll buy the ticket. I'll be there on opening night on the front row center on opening night.
Give me a ticket too.
I'll get you a ticket. I don't have anything else to say about the Banana Splits movie except for tra-la-la, tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. One banana, two banana, three banana, four. That's all I know. So that's it. We appreciate each other for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Marlowe, you and I will see each other next time on Network Interference.
On Network Interference.
Bye.
Bye.
Show.
Show. Hey everybody. It's the Banana Split Show. It's the Banana Split Show. And it's time to play the Wheel of Ending. And the show must go on. Show.